What if your child came home from school one day letting you know that they were exceeding in their reading, but their teacher was telling them that they were a failure? This is what happened to a student at Blaine Elementary in Pennsylvania. He was excelling in his reading and improved 4 levels, although he was deemed a failure because of standardized testing. This is called from the NCLB. The NCLB stands for No Child Left Behind, and this is something that needs to be reformed. The NCLB was passed by the United States Senate on May 23, 2001, then by the House of Representatives on June 4, 2001. President Bush then signed this act into law on January 8, 2002. The NCLB is something that looks good on paper, and in actuality, it's horrible. The NCLB is all about standardized testings, and they are more concerned about the level of standards in their testing than they are of the actual students' growth. This act has many challenges and needs to be reformed. Education is our children's key to success. Education is America's economic salvation. Education is the only way to secure our competitive global economy, and education is America's one true path out of poverty. The NCLB has been mixed. We need to keep what has worked and fundamentally change what hasn't. The goals of the NCLB was to improve standards and accountability across all schools, in the classroom and in the individual students. It is optional for states to accept this act, although states that do not accept this act will not receive federal funds. There was a small percentage of states who was against this, but then were persuaded to accept it just to receive the funds. The NCLB has had negative effects and will continue to be detrimental to our students, to our children, if this does not get reformed. Statistics tell a story. There were recent international tests in math and science, and shows that students have their peers in other countries beating them. 27% of young Americans are dropping out of high school. That means 1.2 million teenagers are leaving high school for the streets. United States 15-year-olds in math were 37 in the ranking last year. And 17-year-olds are performing at the same exact level in math and reading as they were in the 1970s. The United States now ranks 10th in the world for college completions for ages 24 to 35. The global achievement gap is growing, and we have fallen behind. We don't need another study. We have to stop admiring and do something now. We need to take action. The Teachers Network conducted a study that 3% of teachers in all 50 states only 3% of teachers in all 50 states thinks the NCLB allows them to teach effectively. We as parents need to boost our college completion rates to 60% by the next decade. That would be by 2020. We need to be the first in the world again. To get there, we can't waste another minute. Every year counts, every classroom counts, and every child counts. The best solution begins with parents and with teachers. The President has asked us all to come together, lift up our sleeves, and let's do something about this. We have an obligation to step up and do more. It's not just enough to define the problem. We need to find the solutions based on the very best evidence with the very, very best ideas. So I'm calling on everyone today so we can build a transformational educational law that offers every child the education they want, the education they need, and the education they truly deserve. A law needs to be built that demands real accountability and growth, both in the individual classroom and in the school, rather than simple utopian goals. We need to build a law that has teachers working with the struggling students and not just the tiny percent near the middle who can be lifted over the mediocre proficiency bar with minimal effort. That's not real education. That's game playing tied to bad tests with the wrong goals. Let's build a law that discourages the narrowing of the curriculum, but encourages a well-rounded education with both science and history, language and arts. In order to build a society that is distinguished with both intellectual and economical problems. Let's build an educational law that is worthy of our nation, one that our children and their children will parent to the decisive moment in history that aspires a new generation of young children to become teachers, and also aspires all of America to shoulder our power from building a foundation of growth and promise. Let's roll up our sleeves and get beyond our differences of politics, policies, parties, and philosophies. Now on to the testing aspect of the NCLB. Many teachers complain of the testing. Parents think it's a toxic brand that's not helping our children learn. These tests place too much emphasis on the actual test scores and not enough on the children's growth. These tests are overly prescriptive in some ways, and it doesn't encourage learning and high standards. It inadvertently discourages states to lower their standards. Teachers are lying to students when they are telling them they are succeeding, when in actuality they are not. What is expected in one state is not expected across the board. There are 50 different states, 50 different standards, and 50 different bars to reach over. Students really don't know if they are ready beyond high school to graduate, to go to college, to graduate, and to succeed after they graduate. Now I'm going to show you a graph that illustrates graduates not ready for college level work is 42%. The graduates that graduate high school and they are not ready for jobs beyond entry level is at 45%. Then we go to graduates who actually go to college, we're at 65%, and the graduates who do not go to college are at 77%. Those are just unreasonable. In conclusion, reforming the NCLB is as urgent as it is important. Our task should be to unite educational stakeholders behind a national school reform movement that reaches into every town and every city. Those who say we can't do this right now and say we need more time to study and look at the problem, for those who say the timing just isn't right, I would have to say your children can't wait and my children can't wait. When the minister of Birmingham told Martin Luther King that his protest ran too timely, he replied and said, "I've yet to engage in a direct action campaign that was well timed." Well, everybody, this is our responsibility and this is our time. We can't let it slip away. We have to get this done, we have to do it together, and we have to do it now. Children will be worse off than they are today if this act does not get reformed. The only way to address this problem is by improving and reforming our children's educational system. Even though educational critic Alfie Kuhn argues that the NCLB law is unredeemable and should be scrapped, I still feel that there is need for reform. Thank you.